Welcome to the Ferris Love Podcast, Single, Not Stalled, Pursuing Sanctity in Your Singleness. This podcast is for Catholic women who find themselves living the single life, whether it's by choice, vocation, or circumstance. Here we believe that this time is not just a waiting period, but a season rich with purpose, growth, and grace. Join your hosts, Monica and Katie Hinderer, two sisters navigating the single life from different perspectives as we dive into conversations about faith, friendship, professional growth, and finding joy in the everyday. Let's embrace this extraordinary journey together. Monica, 3 days after we recorded, but here we are again. I love it.
Record.
I know. Well, we got behind, so
That's okay.
that's what happens.
We're catching up. Do you have any joys from your past 3 days?
I'm trying to think. Oh, actually, this is going to be funny because we talk about AI a lot, but I was just getting really overwhelmed with trying to meal prep and like thinking through the meals and like counting the calories and hitting all the macros and all that kind of stuff. And so what I decided to do is put in exactly what I have in my kitchen to ChatGPT and give it all of my macro goals, etc., and then have it. So every morning I just text it and I'm like, all right, let me know what the marching plans are for today. And it just shoots back the full marching plan of like today, for instance, for breakfast, it was like 3 eggs, 1 cup of egg whites, 3 ounces of ground beef, salsa. You can have a sweet potato too if you're extra hungry. I was like, sweet. And then I can just like dial it in and do it. And there's like no thought that has to go into it at all, which I really like. So I'll say that is a weird, but that's a joy for the week for me.
Well, I think it just offloads mental labor.
Yeah. Which obviously in the morning, I actually like thinking of breakfast, but in the afternoon, evenings, like thinking of dinner, I hate that. And that's often when I'm like, whatever, I'll just have a box of mac and cheese or something like that because it seems easy. So, even last night I was like so tired and it was like, just have salmon and a bag of the like frozen single serve veggies that you have. And I was like, oh, okay, I can do that. Like, great. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Incredible.
Mm.
I don't follow, I guess it pops up on my reels a lot, she's this really funny account where she goes, I time how long it takes to do the thing I was procrastinating.
I love
You
this.
seen this?
I
And so
have.
she like shows this like whatever, this mess, and then tells you the time of like, I've been procrastinating, cleaning the bathroom. And then it's like, oh, look at that. It only took 12 minutes. Like that was nothing. Like what, Um, anyways, I had been this is so bad. I had been procrastinating collecting all of my information for my accountant for my taxes.
Oh, yeah,
It's an overwhelming thing to me.
sure.
And I was sitting on the couch the other night and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it. And it took me like 0 time. It
Isn't
took
that
a
funny?
and like like it literally did not take as much time as I thought it would. I was just really overwhelmed with like all of the little things that I had to do. And then I sent an email and she was just like, received, all I need is like this thing from you. And I was like, that's it? Shoot. Like
Wait, what?
I've been like putting this off for weeks, being like, oh gosh, later. So anyways, that is a joy that it's like off my plate and that, whatever, the ball is rolling. And so sometimes
Yeah,
I think just little things that help us feel less overwhelmed.
it's true. Actually, that I did a lot of that yesterday. Yeah, Mondays are my CEO day,
Mm,
and I'm supposed to like do stuff that like makes the business run, not necessarily like work in the business, if that makes sense. And there's like a whole list of small little things that I'd been putting off because it just felt really daunting. And yesterday I was like, I can do this, and I crushed through all of them
yeah,
in very little time. And I was
that's
like,
great.
oh, I can't believe I've been putting these things off for so long. Like, so dumb. But yeah, anyway, that's life sometimes.
Mm,
Oh my gosh. That woman's account too cracks me up. Have you seen the ones where she goes over to her friends' houses and helps them do
yeah,
it? Or like
yeah,
her mother's house and she like
yeah.
helps her mom do it? I'm like, this is hilarious.
Yeah, I watched one where she, like, helped her friend, like, really organize her entire kitchen.
Mhm.
There's something so satisfying about those videos, or even doing it for yourself where you're like, "Wow, it feels so organized and so, like,
Mhm.
detailed." There's something very satisfying about that. Whether or not I would be able to stick with the system I put in place, totally different story,
It's okay.
right? But yeah, I think about this a lot. I mean, the next thing that I've been procrastinating is laundry. It is my least favorite task.
Ugh,
I'd rather scrub toilets. I like literally hate laundry so much, and it just always piles up, and it's like, okay, well,
here we are.
just gotta do it. Just
Do you have
gotta.
in-unit laundry or do you have to go out to do it?
No, I have in unit.
Oh, that's good.
Someone recommended, they were like, if you do smaller stuff more, it won't feel as overwhelming.
Sure.
Which I thought, okay, this might be true. So if I just run my dishwasher every night, like, okay, it's not full, but and then the second I thought about doing that and tried, my dishwasher broke. So I have a broken dishwasher.
No.
I know. So I have a broken dishwasher, and that is another this is what I realized, that there are certain tasks that overwhelm me, and I'm trying to figure out what overwhelms me about them,
Yeah.
but simply calling my maintenance people overwhelms me. I don't wanna do it, and there's
Yeah,
just something that yeah.
you can't do
Isn't
it
that weird?
online?
No, I can. I can submit a ticket, uh, but even that, I'm just like, "Ugh." It's like a chore, and then I'm gonna have to let them into my apartment, even though they're so nice. They're
And
so
you're there all the time. It's not like it's gonna, like, keep you from going out
I
or
think I'd
something.
rather not be here. I think I'd rather be like, "Let yourself in, take care of it, let me know if there's any issues." Like, I don't wanna be here for it.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true.
but anyways, so that is just another thing on the list of things to do, and
I feel that. I've been trying to roll over my 401k into an IRA for, like, the last 4 years, so still haven't done it
4 years. Oh.
since I had, like, a real full-time job.
Mm.
But,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
it's still working, it's still accruing money, like, it's not like it's, like, just sitting there not doing anything, but I wanna roll it over so I can start contributing to it again, and, like, you can't contribute to a 401k like that, so anyway, there's, like, just stuff I have to do, and I'm sure it's gonna be the easiest thing in the world once I do
Oh,
it,
sure.
but it feels super daunting to, like, figure out all this stuff, et cetera, so I feel that.
Mm.
Yeah, I feel
I
it.
feel like this segues a little bit into,
Yeah.
our topic for today, which is we're sort of talking and exploring the myth of you can have it all. You can do it all.
Mhm.
You can have it all. And one of the reasons why I'm like connecting these dots is because as you're talking about the finances, I was like, oh yeah, me too. Like I have two different accounts in two different places. I don't know where they are. I'm sure they're obviously still in the market, so they're making money, right? It's fine. And then thinking about the fact that I feel this pressure
Mm.
to be financially very literate and savvy, right? And there's
Mhm.
these things on the internet, and suddenly feeling this pressure to be like, I need to somehow be Martha Stewart in my home. I
Mhm.
need to be a chef and make meals. I need to
Yeah,
balance
you
my
need to be
macros. I
Dave
need to
Ramsey in your finances and the pioneer woman in your kitchen and
literally like I and like that is expected that we do it all. Right?
yeah.
We have all of our ducks in a row and that we do it all, and, it's impossible.
Yeah, and I think too, like, it's impossible, but also I feel like we often put ourselves in a place where we are trying to have it all, and often those all things are, like, competing factors.
Mm. Right.
So yeah, so for instance, like, I realized this recently, and this is really funny, I'm in this, like, mastermind for the year, and one of the things we were looking at my schedule, and I made, like, a habit map, so my schedule's all kind of laid out, and there's, like, time blocks for different things, etcetera, and I said to the guy, I was like, "So, tell me, like, where do I put, like, coffee with a friend?"
Hmm,
'Cause the habit map is like, this is what it looks like every week, like, and it's pretty consistent. You're not making a new one every week. And I
hmm.
said, like, it feels silly to, like, schedule in coffee with a friend from 10 to 11 every Wednesday and then try and find friends who will fit into that slot that I've only slotted for that, right?
Yeah,
Like, that I was like, "That
yeah.
seems dumb," and he was like, "Right, you're not gonna do that." And I said, "So, like, but then where do friends go into here, right? Like, where do my social life and cultivating that go in?" And he goes, "Well, once you have the schedule, it can go anywhere, but you then have to realize that when you're saying yes to a friend for coffee at 11 a.m. on a Wednesday, you're saying no to what you have blocked off on that time."
Mm,
And duh, right? Of course, duh. But it was, like, so mind-boggling to me. I was like, "Wait, wait, wait, wait." I was like, "I need to think about this more." I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, like, when you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else." And he's like, "The same with when you look at your schedule, maybe you sit down to do something and you look at it, you're supposed to be doing, like, Mondays, right? My CEO day. I'm supposed to be doing CEO work. If I choose to do client work on Mondays, that means I've said no to doing my CEO work." And it's gone. And like I can't get it back. But in my head previously, I was like, oh, well, I could do this client work and then I'll like find more time on Monday at another point to like do it and
Mm.
like fit it into the schedule and like all that kind of stuff. And like you don't have that time. So
Why do you think
I
that is?
what?
What do you think
Think that
what
way?
do you think are kind of the core beliefs or motivators for people to believe or try to have it all?
I think I mean, I think it can be a lot of things. I think it's probably society. Like society, especially for women, tells women they can have it all. But I think in general, society kind of tells us like no boundaries, no rules, no regulations. Like you can have it all, you can do it all, like whatever. I think we are surrounded by a lot of social media too that tells us you can be whatever you want to be.
Mm,
Right? And, like, we grew up with a dad who was like, "You actually can't be anyone you wanna be." Like, you could be really close, but, like, unless you have some natural skills in some things, like, you might not ever be Michael Jordan, right? Or unless you have the time and money to dedicate to that, you're not gonna be that, right? Like, that's just not realistic, right? There are certain skills and talents we all have, etcetera. So, or you could be a really good basketball player, but if you're only 5 foot tall and you're trying to be a male basketball player, like, it probably ain't happening. So
yeah.
sorry, but you're not dunking on anybody, right? Um, but I think we have a society now that tells us like you totally could. Why couldn't you? Do it all,
Mm, mhm.
you know? Um, and then I think for me, like particularly, right? Like since I am like all about work and like getting stuff done and I like really pride myself and like I can get a lot done in a little amount of time, I'm like, oh, I could absolutely find time to make this work.
Mm,
Like I could absolutely do both these things.
mm,
And I was realizing like recently, so after I had this conversation with him about this, I then was on retreat at the end of January, and I had this realization that I was trying to do in multiple areas of my life. I was trying to like do two things that were like conflicting realities,
mm,
and I couldn't do both of them. But I had been trying really hard for the last 2 years to do both of them. For instance, so I can give an example. Um, when I moved out of the center and into an apartment, I got a dog and I thought like this is amazing. All my family has dogs, like all of our family's dogs. There's 10 dogs between all of us in the family. It's crazy. And I was like, I want to be a dog owner. I've always wanted to be a dog owner. Like this is the perfect opportunity. I'm living alone. Great, I'll get a dog. Okay, but I also want to be the CEO that travels a lot and goes and sees our clients and is able to travel and able to do all of that. And for 2 years, I tried to make those two realities work together. I wanted to own a German Shepherd, which is not exactly a travel friendly dog. It's not like I can put him in my purse and like hop on a plane. And the CEO that travels a lot. And I was doing both and it was wearing me out. And I had this realization on the retreat like I can choose one or the other, but I really can't do both well.
mm,
And that was like mind boggling for me on the retreat. I was like, oh my gosh,
mm,
like I have to pick. Like I have to pick one of these. I can't have it all.
mm,
At least not right now, right? Maybe someday in the future I can own a dog again. I rehomed my lovely brisket. Um, when maybe I'm not traveling as much, but I can't be a
yep,
traveling CEO who travels 200 days a year and own a dog that is high energy and needs to be taken care of and walked for miles
right,
every day, etc.
right,
You know?
yeah. I think that, because as you were describing it, I thought about how often I think we maybe want to have everything because we don't really know what we want.
Mm,
And so we're listening to like what other people tell us we should want or what
mhm,
society the pressures of society. And and part of it is if you stop to actually think about who you are and what you want and what you're about, it will actually make the decision making easier
mm,
on, you know, what am I saying yes to and what am I saying no to? And the no's open doors in other places and the yes closes doors in other places and that's just a part of life. But I'm thinking about all the times where like I say yes to everything or I'm trying to do all of it is partially because like I don't know what I want. And so I'm like, "Okay,
Mm.
like, that sounds fun and that's exciting," and a little bit of it is, a scarcity mindset maybe of, like, I should have it all. I think this is one of the dangers or one of the risks in this kind of mentality in a single person is that, like, you have the time, allegedly, to do
Sure.
it all,
Mhm.
and, you're gonna hear your married friends be like, "Oh, I wish I had the time to do XYZ," or, "I miss my single years," or, "I miss my freedom," and to think that, "Oh, okay, so, like, I kind of have to capitalize on this, and, like, when else will I do these things?" When that those aren't always the most mindful or intentional decisions we're making for our lives.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's absolutely true, that and I think sometimes, like, almost the reverse can be true. We can want all the things we said yes to, and yet still not be able to say yes to all of them.
Mhm.
Like, I was thinking as you're talking, like, I was thinking about, like, back to my influencer days, and, like, you would get invites to multiple things all on the same day.
Yeah.
And I can remember looking at all the invites and then pulling up the locations in Chicago
Mm,
and looking at the time frames and figuring out, like, could I legitimately say yes to 3 events?
mm,
Because, like, if one started at 3 and one started at 5 and one started at 5 but was an open house till 10, and it only would take this amount of time to go, and I did that multiple times and then couldn't figure out at the time why I was so stressed out, because they were legitimate things I did wanna do, but I didn't want to be so stressed out and running around like a chicken with my head cut off trying to get to event from event to event, but I did wanna be at all the events,
mm,
which I think is also, like, an interesting nuance to this idea of, like, okay, but, like, I can't do it all. Like, I really can't. It really was not actually very feasible to be running to 3
mm,
events, right? Or we do
mhm.
this in our own lives. Maybe we say yes to a work event and then yes to a friend, and they're, like, really close to each other, and we don't leave ourselves enough buffer, enough margin to be able to go to both, and then we're like, "So sorry I'm late." You're like, "No, duh." Right?
Yeah, and I think the helpful reflection would be, what is that about for me?
Mm,
Because I think that the motivator for each of us is probably gonna be a little different. Katie and
sure.
I talk about the fact that, and Katie, you mentioned it earlier, that you really love your work and you pride yourself on what you can do, and a little
Yeah,
bit of maybe one's identity or self-concept is wrapped up in what I do,
sure.
how capable I am. Whereas, for me, it's more about like belonging. And so like I want to say yes to everything. Um so that I maintain my friendships, so that which then makes me hesitant to say yes to things that really lock me down, because what if another opportunity comes up? And it's
Mhm.
not another opportunity coming up and like, oh, I'm waiting for the best option. It's almost like I want to be the most available to people so that I can like cultivate relationships and
Mhm.
fill this space of belonging. And so um I think to know ourselves better is going to help us understand maybe why we feel so motivated to
Mhm.
have it all. What
Yeah,
does having it all even mean to me? When Katie was the one who picked the topic today, and we were talking briefly before we started recording, and I said, "What does it even mean to have it all?"
mm,
And you said, "Well, I think that's going to be different for every person," which is it's like kind of a moving goalpost. Like each of us are going to have a little bit of a different definition of what it means in our particular life to
right,
have it all.
right. Yeah, and I think we can. I also think we maybe have a disordered way of looking at it, uh, in the sense of we could have it all if we kind of lower the bar, the expectations for what that actually means. Not in a bad way, but in a like I wanna be, for instance, like I wanna be a really well-rested CEO who also travels a lot, right?
Yeah, that
If
sounds.
that's my, like, having it all, I can find a way to get there, but I
Mm,
need to ask, like, really particular questions, and, like, this conversation was making me think. Monica and I walked the Camino last year, and I said yes to attending a business conference the day after we got home from the Camino, and And we got home from the Camino. We were all exhausted. I went to sleep at my parents' house. I went to the airport the next morning at 10 a.m. and I flew to New Orleans for 5 days. And I was a zombie. I was a zombie, but I'd also never been to New Orleans, and so I really wanted to see New Orleans, and I wanted to tour around, and I wanted to see all the things, and I also had to be at this conference all day and, like, all this kind of stuff. I mean, and God had a very funny sense of humor because it rained, like, every day that I was there, so I couldn't do much exploring because 'cause I'm sure he was like, "Enough, Katie,
Thou
enough."
shall rest. Yeah.
Exactly. But I think if I like, I think now if that were to happen, I would either just skip it, not the Camino, the work trip, or I would tell them, "Yes, but I'm gonna come a day or 2 late," or see if someone from my team could go instead, right? Like,
Mhm.
looking for different options and solutions that would help me be the well-rested CEO I wanna be, as opposed to
Mhm.
the, like, haggard CEO who's, like, running around all the time, you
Yep.
know?
Yeah, and thinking a little bit, we learn from our experiences
Mhm.
if we're willing to. If we're willing to be reflective with curiosity, we will learn from our experiences and say, what as you're talking about it, I'm like, I would have never. But the only reason I would have never done that is because if you know me, you know that travel, particularly on a plane, wrecks me. Like I
Right.
am physically ill. And
Yeah.
so I naturally need buffer days before and after particular travel because I just don't do well on
Right.
flights and afterwards. And so, um, the thought of like that back-to-back hustle, landing, not recovering, getting back on a flight, being attentive in meetings sounds like hell to me. Like the worst combination that could possibly happen. But I think when we look at that, we're able with reflection or curiosity, we're able to say like, okay, well, what were the motivating factors behind there for me? And a little bit as you're talking is like, oh, there's a scarcity mindset of like, wait, but I want to see New Orleans and like this is an opportunity. And then to sometimes calm down and say, wait a minute, New Orleans will be there. New Orleans will
Hopefully.
be there. And, right? Like, God with the grace of God, it will be there. So like there will be another time.
Yeah, right.
And that yeah, some opportunities we need to jump on, but a lot of times I think we move into a scarcity mindset where
Mhm.
we're afraid of not having this option again, or I need to do it now because what if I can never do it again? And
Mhm.
it really kind of cripples us.
Yeah. Yeah, I think too, like part of that is also this scarcity mindset and also this comparison game. I feel
Hmm.
like now with social media, et cetera, like you just see really what all these strangers are doing and how
Mm.
they're living their lives. And it often seems like they're doing more or they're like achieving more things than we're able to and whatever. And we can feel behind. Right. And you can, like you were saying, like you can see all these people who are like young singles and they have these Martha Stewart apartments and
Mm.
they also are cooking like the pioneer woman and they like seem to have it all together. And you're like, well, she's doing it all. Like I should be able to do it all. And I think that's also where a lot of the trouble can come in with this I'm trying to do it all, be all the things because we're like, well, but she seems to be doing it, so therefore I should be able to, or I should not even should be able to, like I should do it, right? Because that's really flourishing, or that's what it means to be a young professional who's single or whatever.
Mm. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, it makes me think of one of my friends who's married with kids when I went on the Camino was like, "I
Mhm.
am so jealous." And I was not in the best place at that time, and I was like, "Really? Would you trade your husband and kids for this?" Right? And that, like, in my perspective, I'm like, "She has it all."
Right.
Right? She has what I want, and in her perspective, she was just like, "Oh, like, Monica has something, like, so cool that I want." Like,
Mhm.
and would we necessarily, like, trade places and spaces with each other?
Right.
No, but I think what we have to be careful of is kind of setting our sights too far beyond us and not seeing what we have in front of us, the
Mhm.
beauty of what we have, that we do have we do have abundance.
Mhm.
Abundance is a mindset and you could have so much, But if you are chronically in pursuit of something beyond you to have it all, you just won't be happy in
Right.
life.
Right.
Like, that will always evade you.
Right. Yeah, and I also think I was thinking it's, like, such an American mindset of, like, I wanna do it all and, like, now. Like, I want the results now, you know? Like, I wanna whatever, like, I wanna get fit and healthy and lose weight and train for this thing, and I need to do it all right now. Along with this ChatGPT, like, giving me my meals thing every day, which also cracks me up. I also told it, like, I'm training for the High Rocks, and I've got 28 days until I do the High Rocks, and so I wanna make sure that, like, I'm in the best position possible to, like, kill the High Rocks as much as possible, so that means training, but also nutrition and all that kinda stuff. So, yesterday I, like, ate its meal plan, but the calories were lower than the calories they had told me to hit, but I was like, "Nah, like, it's fine, like, whatever, like, a calorie deficit is always good," right? So, like, put in all that information, and ChatGPT was like, "If this continues, you will not be able to perform well at the High Rocks."
Uh,
And it said, "But you probably will lose more weight than we had than we had planned." And I was like, "Okay, so this is the thing, like, sometimes we want all the things, right? Like, the weight
Mhm.
loss and crushing the high rocks, and I can't do both because in order to, like, build good muscle and create a body that can sustain high rocks, right, like, you have to be fueling it really, really well, and that might mean not necessarily having the biggest calorie deficit, which might mean growing more muscle, not losing as much fat, blah, 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 whatever, and so not seeing the scale move as much. Whereas after the high rocks, like, I'm just training to do another Camino, and so maybe then I could do more of a calorie deficit because I won't be lifting as heavy, I won't be training as hard. And
Mm.
even that, I was like, "Oh, this is exactly that." Like, I wanna be able to do both right now as quickly as possible, please. And even
Well, I
shout. Not happening.
sure, and I think what any listener or what is relatable about that, or something to think about,
Yeah,
is in pursuit of having it all, whatever that means to you, what are my contradictions?
right.
Because as you were talking, I was thinking, well, yeah, gosh, a single person who has a vocation to celibacy, to singleness,
Mhm.
may want to be the best whatever,
Yeah.
none, sister, numerary, and but also want happiness. So you're gonna run yourself ragged in all these apostolic, activities and assignments and burn out and wonder why and this and that. And sometimes I think we aren't reflective with ourselves about our
Mhm.
own hypocrisies, about our own dissonance, those conflicts of interest,
Right.
and ask ourselves, okay, like do how can I serve both?
Mhm.
And to be okay with maybe pulling back in particular areas,
Sure.
pressing forward in some areas, given whatever sacrifice that requires. I think about the people who, they're for situationally single individuals, a lot of what you hear is like, blah, 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 use this season of singleness to blah, 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 grow, blah, all these things, right?
Yep.
But also simultaneously, you're told, like, pursue dating. And there's now suddenly you run the risk of living in contradiction with yourself, that you're treating dating like you're on every single app and you're going out and you're going out to all these places because if I miss this youth group or if I miss this activity or if I don't get online, then I'm missing these things, and you forget to live in other areas of your life. Does that make
Mhm.
sense? That
Yeah.
we just um we want it so badly that we think that's having it all, but the sometimes what we've decided having it all is, will never actually be enough or satiate you.
Yeah.
Like,
I
you'll
think
get it,
that's
and then you'll want more of everything else.
that's, like, the human condition, right? Like, so much. Like, you hit that target, you hit that goal, and you're like, "Okay, but now what's next?"
Mhm.
Like, "Okay, now, like, I'm doing the next thing," or whatever. I totally agree. I think that that's definitely something this is also making me think of our last episode, which we did on rest and the 7 areas of rest, and I was like, "Oh, this is kind of similar." Like, you could work on one area of rest and have that nailed, and you're still not really well rested, right?
Mhm.
The same with us. Like, you could work really hard on, like, this one area that you're pursuing, and maybe all the rest of it is kinda, like, falling by the wayside, and that's why you need to look at yourself as, like, a whole individual, all the aspects of our lives, and be like, "Okay, like, what choices am I making? And is it serving, like, big picture who I wanna be and who I am,
Mhm.
or is this only serving, like, one small portion, and it's actually hurting all the other ones along the way because I'm trying to do it all, right? And hustling
Mm.
so hard or overcrowding my schedule or whatever it is that is the way you are trying to do it all, but really can't be doing it all."
Yeah, I think asking yourself, I mean, I starting with when you hear the phrase having it all, what does that mean to you? What does it mean?
Mhm,
And how is that manifesting in your life?
mhm,
And then taking a look at it and being really honest with yourself about, are those measures or metrics like actually those things that I'm striving for and having it all, are they like good and serving me, or are
right,
they a little disordered, or are they actually about something deeper? I mean, I think some people want to have it all because that's where they derive their worth or their
mhm,
value, or they're
mhm,
like they think that if they get the promotion and they have the fancy title and money and a
mhm,
car, that they'll be like wanted and
sure.
respected and
Yeah, 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 yeah,
valued. And then when that doesn't really change,
right.
there's like a death of oneself, a death of ego, where it's like, "Wait, what do you
Yeah.
mean?" And the the idea, I don't know, I would just sort of challenge, I mean, the biggest challenge is to let go of wanting it all and
Mhm,
more like accepting, um, where I am as I am in
right,
pursuit of particular qualities, characteristics, and virtues you've decided that you want for yourself.
right, exactly. Yeah, because it's not like and often it's not like one or the other is bad, like, I go back to my, like, being this traveling CEO or, like, being this German Shepherd dog owner. Honestly, neither is bad, and honestly, both could work, and could I run a business while being a German Shepherd owner and staying home? Yeah, I could. I could figure out a way to pivot, vice versa. Like, it's not like it's one's good and one's bad. It's a little bit of looking at, like, where am I at in life right now? What am I gonna prioritize? Like, what serves me the best or even I think in some ways what makes me most excited, right? And like for me, like traveling right now is like what much more exciting than hiking with the dog.
Mhm.
So, I think there's lots of different ways that we can look at it and we need to evaluate this idea that like yes to one thing often means no to other things. And are we willing to make those yeses and nos and like actually do them and not try to say yes to everything?
I think one of the keys, something that could clue you in, to maybe identifying that you're falling into this trap is when we start to use should statements,
Mm,
or like see or experience something that brings you somewhat of a negative reaction. So I'll give you an example. I was scrolling through my Instagram, and this girl pops up on my account a lot, and she is like making, I don't know the exact number, like the 55 best cakes in the world. And she's going
wow.
through a whole list, and she's gonna make all 55. And then she's making that, and I felt bad suddenly. I was like, "Oh, man," and I thought I should be doing that. Wha
What?
Why? What? I know, Katie's
I'm
face
gonna
is
be
like,
clear, it's not like Monica's a big baker or
"I'm not
chef
baking."
at all.
No, I'm not. I like baking. I'm not a baker. I do like my sourdough
Yeah.
every now and then, but, um suddenly this feeling like I should have that skill, that would be a good skill to have. That would probably be healthier for me than, like, scrolling on Instagram, right? And then all of these things of, like,
Yeah.
yeah, suddenly we have it all, that you're talented in all of these areas, or you're a jack of all trades, but a master of none, right? Like, that
Mhm.
we are able to dabble in all of these things, um and that thought would have literally never crossed my mind if social media hadn't been like, "Hey, look at this cool thing that you're not doing." Like, what?
And she is, and isn't she lovely? And she's
Yeah.
making 55 cakes. Yeah.
Mhm.
It is, yeah, it is really fascinating. I think, especially with social, we can compare so much of the stuff and see, especially, I think especially it's hard when it's people who seem similar to you. Maybe they're same
Mhm.
profession or same career, or they seem in a similar life stage, and then but they seem so much more advanced, and you're like, "What?" Or so much more well-rounded, and it's so hard because it's just a small snippet of what they choose to show you,
Mm.
which has nothing to do with the rest of it anyway. But yeah, this is good. I think overall, like again, homework or a good takeaway is kind of just, yeah, like Monica was saying, just looking at the various aspects of our lives and being like, what do I really want? And like, are all these choices that I'm making, are they serving or are they not? And like, where are the conflicts where I'm trying to say yes to too many things and that I need to start saying no to some things to be able to give a full yes to
Mm.
something else, right? Because so often we're giving, I would say almost partial yeses.
Mhm.
'Cause, like, I can only be a little bit committed to this thing because I also need to run out to this other thing, and I can only be a
Mm.
little committed because I also need to go and do this thing, as opposed to, like, I'm fully in. Like, I'm fully gonna be a knitter, and that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna knit and, like, therefore, I'm not gonna watercolor anymore or whatever, because I don't have time to do both really well anyway, or, that's just a hobby idea, but same premise,
Yeah.
right?
It's funny when you said that, I immediately was like, "Oh, no," because I think I change my mind a lot where I'm like, I get a
Mhm.
little, like, fixated here and then a little fixated there. I'm like, "Ooh, that's fun." Um, and I think that there's nothing, necessarily wrong with that as long as you're just being, like, honest and true to
Mhm.
yourself.
Sure.
Um, in, like, what are my hobbies and interests, and you may have so many, and that's totally fine. Um But as long as it's not wrapped up in kind of this larger identity of I have everything, I can have everything, society demands I have and be everything. Um, and that while we are in pursuit of our growth and in pursuit of these careers or wherever we're going in life, that we give ourselves like patience, as Katie was saying, like we can't have it all now.
Right.
There's an article about it where 'cause this is, I think largely peddled towards women of, like, you can do
Mhm.
it all, particularly the working mom, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And her whole premise was you can have it all, but not all at once.
Right, not at the same time.
So, you can have your career, but maybe motherhood comes first or vice versa, or maybe you can do this, but you have to focus here first. And the ability to sort of delay even our own wants at times or balance it
Mhm.
instead of having this undue pressure on ourselves. Because, I mean, what I often ask myself or what I post to other people is at what cost and to what end? So
Mhm.
just think about that. I want it all. Okay, fine. At what cost and to what end?
Yeah. Yep. This is making me think like last year, one of the things that I did in my slowdown chapter was I stopped listening to audiobooks, period, but I definitely stopped listening to them on 2 times speed because I'd realized the year before I'd read like, I don't know what it was, like 130 books or something like that, most of
Insane.
which I had listened to on 2 times speed. But I realized like it's just because I liked the idea of being like a voracious reader.
Mm.
And, like, having read a lot of books, and a lot of them were, like, professional development books and, like, these kinds of things, etcetera. And then when I took a step back in 2025, I was like, "Okay, I'm not gonna listen on 2 times speed. I'm gonna either listen on, like, a more normal speed or I'm gonna read physical books." I realized, like, I am less of a reader now.
Huh.
And I had to, like, accept that fact that, like, I'm still a reader. I just only read 55 books last year instead of 130 something, right? And that's fine, but it was also like
Mhm.
again, this both like this like saying yes to one thing means saying no to another. I was trying to be a well-rested individual who wasn't constantly hyper and like moving around while reading 130 books on 2 times speed. Those 2 things can't coexist. So I could read at a normal speed, I just have to read a little bit less, and I can be a little bit more balanced, right? Like, there's so many things like this in our lives. I love how all of these examples have been mine, but anyway, this is
No, I think Do you want me to give an example of trying to have it
No,
all?
no, it's fine. It was just
Do you wanna balance the scales? No, I think I gave some examples. I mean, I say yes to everything. I think my
yeah,
knee-jerk
yeah,
reaction is like, "That sounds so fun," and, like, it's so shiny, and I'm like, "Yes," and then I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I double booked myself. Can I make them both work? Like, can I"
yeah,
and
yeah,
actually the movement for me is to, like it's to actually say, "Let me think about it,"
yeah,
because it gives me time to, like, actually discern
yeah.
what I wanna do and what I don't wanna do. And why. And,
Mhm,
I think so much of, like, what we do, what we say yes to, the mentality of trying to have it all is so largely wrapped up in our identity at times. Like,
mhm,
a lot of what we do is because it's churning some type of internal process for you.
mhm.
And sometimes we have to, like, be willing to divorce ourselves from this image we have of ourselves of like, well, I'm the
Right,
person who's always available. I'm the fun friend, right? I am the fun friend who's down for anything. And
right.
sometimes you gotta be like, "Monica, sit down. What are you
Yeah,
doing?"
yeah.
Like,
Someone else can be fun.
yeah, or like, you know, I think I would socially exhaust myself
Mhm,
to avoid being alone,
mm,
right? The part of it was like having it all meant that like I didn't have to be alone or face myself.
mhm.
Like rest was very uncomfortable for me. Don't wanna
Sure.
do it. Don't want that silence in my life. I would love to just keep going. And when you can be impressive in a lot of areas, you get a lot of like in my experience, you get a lot of attention or praise or validation or like you're like, "Ah, yes, like okay, I'm good. I'm okay in this world," right?
Mhm.
And and I think dismantling those beliefs, telling myself I you actually shouldn't have it all.
Yeah.
What does it mean? Starts it's an uncomfortable process. It starts to really reorient a lot of things in life. And I think when we hit discomfort, the challenge is to stay.
Mhm.
Stay there for a minute and explore that. And
Yeah.
and that's where you'll find the direction to grow. And um I think one great place to start is with the concept of having it all.
Mhm. Agreed. Amen to that.
That's it this week on Single Not Stalled. We hope this episode gave you new insights and a renewed sense of purpose in your daily life. Wherever you are in your journey, remember that God is with you, and this season is filled with opportunities to grow, flourish, and make an impact. If you're loving this podcast, please take a moment to rate and review. It helps more women like you find this community. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Join us on social media at Single Not Stalled. We'd love to hear your thoughts and ideas. Until next time, keep living fully and walking boldly.